with great power comes great responsibility. Understand that. And also understand that subconsciously you know this. And the reason why you have not acquired the power that you desire is because deep down you are not ready to accept that responsibility. Hear me out. Everything, every problem that we have is due to a lack of energy, a lack of being able to focus your attention, your infinite energy, or your access to that infinite source. Once your mind, which is infinite and does whatever you want it to, once you start to believe that you're in lack or that you have to fight with another human over energy, that's when wars start to happen. I encourage y'all to go read this book called The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. It basically talks about how all of the problems in this realm are caused by a lack of consciousness and a lack of understanding of energy. And once the world begins to see and understand energy, then we'll stop trying to take it from each other and we'll all get it from our infinite source. And then instead of us fighting over a finite amount of energy, you have finite human beings being able to play with infinite energy. And that eventually is going to be where this whole race ends up going, or a whole human race ends up going to where, we won't have all the problems that we have now. And it opened up my mind to see, it basically just shows you where we're going versus where we have fallen. And reading this book has allowed me to see that, or I shouldn't say, well, rereading this book has allowed me to see a lot of my errors on this path. And I realized that a lot of the power that I wanted, I didn't realize that, okay, I'll say this. I didn't realize that the power that I wanted was going to put me in the position of seeming like a god to some people. Because people don't, they think they believe in God. They think they believe in the divinity. They think they believe in the high, but the truth is they don't. Most people don't really believe in God. Most people only believe in their human plight. They only believe in their problems, and they believe in what the pastor says and whatever egregore that's been established by Christians. They want to be aligned with that, but not with God. And because of that, most humans end up defaulting their praise, worship, or they depend upon the energy of the person who has the highest level of consciousness in the room. So once you start consuming this type of information, you become a personified version of God to people. So you being in a bad mood is going to affect that crowd more than the next person being in a bad mood. You know what I'm saying? You being, and that's just little. You know what I'm saying? That's when you get in your first stages, but like that can be way more hectic. It can get way more intense than that. So, I don't really want to say too much about this, but I've even seen it to where it's like I don't focus and I don't, you assume responsibility for people, and then people have good or bad things happen to them based upon your life. And that type of responsibility is scary, even for me, because bad things happen to fucking people. They happen to people. But you can't think of it like, oh, I don't want this responsibility because now I'm hurting people. Somebody's gonna have the responsibility anyway. Somebody has to do it. Nature hates a vacuum. So leaving the responsibility isn't gonna do anything but let somebody else pick it up. What it is you have to assume and realize, hey, now that I have this responsibility, it's time for me to be a better person. Point blank, period. A lot of us, me included, coming up, you want to put that on the back burner. You want to put your morality on the back burner. And your morality doesn't need to be your driver. But I will say, once you get on a certain point, you realize that, like, I have to be morally sound because every one of my actions reverberates throughout this universe in a way that everybody else doesn't. And my moral imbalances affect my wife. My moral imbalances affect my friends. My moral imbalances affect you watching this. You know what I'm saying? So your goal as a spiritualist should be to rise to the point to where you have more control over yourself. But until you get to that point, you're subject to the whimsies of niggas like me. Straight up. That's why you can't be worship. You can't subconsciously worship niggas. You got to get the fuck out of that. And until you get out of that, you will be worshiping and praising niggas like me and not even noticing it. You'll be sending energy to niggas like me. You'll be sending prayers to niggas like me because you don't really even know how to deal with the divine. And by niggas like me, they could be incarnated, discarnated, any of that. You're sending your energy and your prayers, they need to go within, but you're sending them up. And all that shit does is go up in the air and falls right back down to a nigga who's already pulling energy from the ethers. I don't think you understand what I just said. People send their prayers upward. Nigga like me is always pulling down energy from above. So I just told you that when you send them prayers up, I'm catching them hoes. And that type of energy is being used to, and it's not just be taken by me and just held. No, it's immediately transmuted and sent out based upon my mindset and my everyday mindset. Point blank. That's how it works. So you got to figure out something to do. You got to figure out how not to be subservient. But until then, until you raise your level of consciousness, you're going to have to reach out to other entities that have the level of consciousness needed to get what's done. And this is the type of consciousness, the level of consciousness that I'm talking about. A lot of people don't even know that that's what's going on. They don't realize that you have a moral obligation once you get to a certain point in your spiritual path. And it's not God, it's not it's not like, oh, I'm gonna forgive. No, forgiveness is not what you think it is. If I smacked you in your shit right now, I can't just forgive and take that back. You still got smacked. No matter what I say, you still always gonna look at me like, hey nigga, you smacked the fuck out of me. I don't like you. The universe has that same type of like growing up is realizing that your actions aren't just aren't just like autonomous. No, they affect everything and everybody. That's why the quickest way for the world to get better is for you to be a better person. But, I'm rambling.